don't listen to this alone in the dark. I didn't believe in any of that stuff before this week, and I definitely didn't think something like that could be living 2 floors above me. But I'm telling you right now, I think a vampire lives in my building, and I'm not saying that to sound dramatic. I'm saying it because I saw him, and he saw me back. It started simple. My building is old but normal. 4 floors, narrow hallways, thin walls, the kind of place where you hear doors shut and toilets flush and people arguing about rent. I work late, so I usually come home around midnight. The first time I noticed something off was when I realized I had never once seen the guy in 4B during the day. I know everyone else's routine without trying. The woman in 2A leaves at 7:30. The couple in 3C fight at 9. The maintenance guy comes by every Thursday morning. But 4B was quiet all day and active all night. Around 2 or 3 a.m., I'd hear slow footsteps in the hallway above me, pacing from one end to the other, steady and patient, like someone measuring the floor with their steps. I told myself it was insomnia or a weird schedule, until I ran into him in the stairwell one night when I was coming up from the basement laundry room. The light in the stairwell flickers sometimes, so I didn't see his face right away. Just the shape of him standing halfway down the stairs, completely still, like he'd been waiting there. I almost bumped into him and said, "Sorry, didn't see you." He didn't move. The light buzzed and then steadied, and that's when I saw his face. His skin looked too pale, not sick pale, just drained, like there was no color in it at all. His eyes were dark but clear, and they didn't blink. He was holding the railing with one hand, and his fingers were long and tight around the metal, like he was testing its strength. He leaned closer to me, not enough to touch, just enough that I could feel the cold coming off him. Then he said, "You get home late." It wasn't a question. I laughed it off and said, "Yeah, work schedule." He tilted his head slightly, like he was studying the way my throat moved when I spoke. I remember swallowing and feeling embarrassed about it. He didn't smile. He just nodded once and stepped aside. But as I walked past him, I felt something brush against the back of my neck, like his breath or maybe his fingers. I didn't turn around. I told myself I was being stupid. I went back to my apartment and locked the door. After that, the pacing above me got louder. Not heavier, just closer to my ceiling, like he was directly over my bed every night. I started noticing other things too. Packages left outside 4B stayed there all day untouched and then vanished by morning. I never heard his door open during daylight hours. The hallway camera by the elevator has a tiny monitor in the lobby that cycles through feeds, and one afternoon I was grabbing my mail when I saw something strange. The camera showed the 4th floor hallway completely empty, doors shut, lights on. Then his door opened slowly, but no one came out. It stayed open for a full minute. No shadow, no movement, nothing. Then it closed. I stood there staring at the screen, and the mail slipped out of my hand. That night I heard a knock on my door at exactly 3:12 a.m. I know the time because I checked my phone before answering. I don't know why I answered. I guess I thought maybe someone needed help. I opened it halfway and saw him standing there, closer than before, his face inches from the crack in the door. He said, "Can I come in?" My stomach dropped. I don't know why that question felt wrong, but it did. I tightened my grip on the door and said, "It's late." He didn't blink. He just stared past me into my apartment, like he could see every corner of it. Then he said, "You look tired." I shut the door. I locked it. I stood there listening. I expected footsteps walking away. There weren't any. The next morning, there were 2 faint marks on the inside of my door, right at neck height, like something sharp had pressed into the wood. I touched them and felt how deep they were. That's when I started staying up with the lights on. I could hear him moving above me, but now it wasn't pacing. It was slow, dragging sounds, like something heavy being pulled across the floor. Around 2:45 a.m., my ceiling creaked directly over my couch. I stared at that spot for a long time, and then I saw it. The drywall dipped slightly, just a little, as if weight was pressing down from above. A small crack formed and white dust sprinkled onto my coffee table. Then it stopped. I decided I wasn't going to wait anymore. I grabbed my keys and told myself I'd leave, maybe crash at a friend's place. I opened my door and stepped into the hallway. The lights were on, steady and bright. The air felt colder than usual. I walked toward the stairwell, and that's when I saw his apartment door open at the far end of the hall. He stepped out slowly, not rushing, just calm. He looked directly at me and said, "You should be asleep." My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to keep moving toward the stairs. He didn't chase me. He just walked behind me, matching my pace, each of his steps landing exactly after mine. I reached the stairwell and pulled the door open. It slammed shut behind me harder than I expected. I ran down one flight, then another, my hands sliding along the railing. I could hear him above me, not running, just descending steadily. I burst into the lobby and headed for the front entrance, but when I pushed the door, it didn't budge. The deadbolt was turned from the inside. I never lock it. I heard his shoes on the tile behind me. I didn't turn around at first. I said, "Stop!" My voice echoed too loud in the empty lobby. He stepped into view in the reflection of the glass door. He was closer than he should have been. I could see his eyes clearly now. They weren't dark anymore. They were almost black, wide and focused, like he'd finally decided something. He spoke right behind me. "You never invited me." I felt his hand rest on my shoulder. It wasn't heavy, but it was firm. Cold soaked through my shirt instantly. I tried to pull away, but my body felt slow, like my muscles weren't responding right. He turned me gently to face him. His mouth opened slightly, and I saw his teeth. They weren't exaggerated or monstrous. They just looked sharp, too sharp. He leaned down toward my neck and paused, like he was savoring the moment. I tried to say something, anything, but my voice came out thin and useless. I don't remember hitting the floor. I remember the tile against my cheek and the sound of the front door unlocking. I remember him crouching beside me, his face close to mine, watching my eyes struggle to stay open. He said, "You should have kept your lights off." The last thing I saw before everything went dark was his reflection in the glass door. It didn't show all of him. It showed his outline and his eyes, but the rest looked wrong, faded, like he wasn't fully there. When I woke up, I was back in my apartment, in my bed, the door locked, the room dark. I could hear footsteps above me again, slow and patient, directly over my ceiling. And I understood then that I hadn't left, I hadn't escaped, and he didn't need permission anymore. If you're listening to this, he might already know your schedule, the time you turn off your lights, the way your hallway sounds at night. And if you hear slow footsteps above you when no one should be there, don't assume it's the neighbors. If you have a horror story of your own, please feel free to drop it in the comment section. You never know, the next story could be yours. Subscribe to The Vault so you don't miss what comes next.